OTR versus local. Let's talk about it.
All right, so OTR versus local, a topic that's been discussed numerous times within the owner operator community, and I just want to give you my 2 cents on this. I am an owner operator. I've been doing this for about like a year and a half now, so I think I have a little bit of experience underneath my belt. But I do want to say is I primarily do OTR, which is over the road. I do not have any experience uh, in local. All I know is pretty much theory, right? That's all I know. And from the loads that I've been given or that I've been offered by the carriers that I'm partnered up with. So I just want to keep that in mind. Um, that being said, so again, this is based on my experience and what I consider to be pros and cons. So let's start with OTR, since that's what I do and I'm just most experienced in it. Um, what I consider to be a pro is if you are more of an introvert type of person and you are a solo driver, then OTR by far you're going to love it, right? If you don't have an issue with just being by yourself for a long period of time, OTR by far it is the way to go. For example, if you are, I don't know, if you have a load that's about 1,000 miles plus, maybe even 800 miles plus, right? You're on the road for about like 10 hours. I thought there was someone that you're on the road for 10 hours plus, 15 hours plus, right? Depending on how long the load is. But the main thing is you're by yourself. You have no one there to tell you, like, oh, I need to use the restroom. Oh, I want to eat at this place. Can we rest? I'm tired, and so on and so forth, right? If you want to stop by and let's say get some McDonald's, you can do that. If you want to rest within like 2 hours of your driving, you can do that, right? You don't have to take anybody into consideration. With OTR, if you're a solo driver, okay, you don't have to worry about anything. Just blast on whatever music you want to listen to, whatever podcast you got to listen to. Bro, it is, you have full autonomy of everything. So that's, I think, uh, in my opinion, if you are an introvert, OTR is the way to go. And obviously, and if you can drive, if you have the stamina to do the 800 plus miles, 700 plus miles, and yeah, if you can do it, I would recommend going OTR. But if you're more of a extroverted type of individual, maybe and if you're a solo driver, over the road it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But we'll get to that during locals. Another thing, I think it's a plus with OTR is you will get to know the whole country, especially if you're doing over uh, state lines. If you're going over state lines, right? Uh, Bro, let me tell you, I have gone to pretty much every single state in the country, right? I've gone to Washington, Texas, New Jersey, Mississippi, Idaho, Arkansas, Kansas, Wyoming, Washington, California. Bro, I have hit up all these states. And in every single state that I go to, it's always a new town. So OTR, you're always just exploring and knowing new places within the country, driving, seeing the beautiful scenery. So if you like that, OTR is the way to go. If you like exploring new places, just traveling in general, OTR plus plus. Um, let's say another thing for over the road is, I don't know, a big plus I would say is just autonomy, man. Autonomy is the big one, especially if you are a solo driver. I can't emphasize that like enough. Autonomy. You have full autonomy of everything. Okay. Plus, if you are, I would say, a partner, you are able to take a lot more loads. You are able to be a little bit more aggressive in your bidding, right? You are able to, I would say, rack up a little bit more cash than if you were doing locals. For example, let's say if, I don't know, if you're going from like North Carolina to California, right? Sometimes these people want, hey, we're looking for a team instead of solo. If they're looking for a team, you could bid a little bit more aggressive. At least from my experiences, from what I've seen, is you could bid more aggressive than from a solo driver, which is a plus if you're doing OTR and you have and you're with a team, right? I would say for a solo, you can't really do that, right? There are loads that can't do that. But I will say this: this is a plus, and this is different. This differs from truckers. With sprinter vans, if you're riding a cargo and you're doing OTR, I think this is a plus for OTR. Is you are not limited, at least to my experience, at least to what I know right now. You're not limited to how many miles or how long you could be on the road compared to truckers. Truckers, I think by law, they have to rest a certain amount of time a day, and they can only drive a certain amount of miles or time a day before they call it quits. Right? It's by law, and if they go over that time or miles, they get a citation. Another thing is with truckers, if you guys don't know it, is the way uh, state troopers or the way the police checks it is they have a logbook. It used to be like they would write it manually, right? It would be on paper, but now it's all digital, and so they have to log their hours and their miles, right? That's how they keep track of everything. So truckers can only drive for a limited amount of time and miles. While if you're a cargo van, hey, you do you, bro. You could drive as much time as you want. For example, let's say if you're gonna do overnight delivery, right? Overnight delivery, and you're going from, I don't know, let's say from North Carolina to Laredo, Texas. It depends on where you are in North Carolina, but let's say you're going from, I don't know, Charlotte to Laredo, Texas. It's usually about like 17 to 20, I would say maybe about like 20-hour drive. Maybe it's about like 700 miles, 600 miles, something like that. So it's a 20-hour drive, give or take. I have to check on it here a little bit. But yeah, so bro, you can drive like 15 hours, 18 hours, and then just rest, right, for 2 hours or sleep for 4 hours, right? Because for cargo vans, owner operators, you don't have a limit. You can just keep driving as much as you can, right? Compared to truckers, they can't do that. So with cargo vans, OTR, you could be a little bit more aggressive on how many loads you take, and just rack up that money. Rack up that money. Let's see. I think that's enough for the pros that I can think of. That my experience, or yeah, that I can think of. Let's talk about pay now. From my experience, the carriers that I'm partnered up with, the pay is usually from point 0.8 to 0.9 cents per mile. That's for OTR. That's what they've been paying up lately, and today is, I think it's like April 4th, 2025. So OTR, that's what I'm primarily getting paid, is 80 to 90 cents a mile. I think that's pretty good. I'm making good money. I'm not complaining. Some people I've seen in the comments or other owner operators be like, nah, bro, that is terrible. I think if you are doing local, I don't think that's a good rate for you guys. But if you're doing OTR, in my opinion, I think it's good. I think it's good. I like it. It pays my bills. I'm not complaining. For me, it's like, hey, as long as I'm getting loads, I'm happy, and I like it. 80 cents a mile is not that bad in my opinion. 90 cents a mile is great. There are times where I can get it like 95 cents a mile, especially if they want like overnight delivery. You can be a little bit more aggressive, right? And you could, like I said, you could drive like 20 plus hours. I don't know, 18 hours, right? And then sleep for, let's say, 4 hours. If you can manage that, if you can do that as OTR, great, man. You're gonna rack up some money. I think OTR for me is where I think I had the most success in. But yeah, that's for the pay. I would say kind of cons with OTR is exercise, exercise. Especially if you're getting loads after loads after loads, it can be difficult to get exercise in. Especially, for example, my schedule is I get a load on Monday. I usually try and drop it off on Wednesday. I pick up another load on Wednesday, try and drop it off on Friday or Thursday, and then if I drop it off on Thursday, I try and pick up another load, kind of a short load, Thursday, so I can drop it off on Friday, and then Friday pick up a load on Monday. So it goes pick up Monday, drop off Wednesday, pick up Wednesday, drop off Friday, and then pick up Friday, drop off Monday. That's how my week kind of goes. That's what I try to aim for, right? So right there, you can see that there's not a lot of room for exercise. At least, again, from my experience, what I like from my loads and the time crunch that I'm under, right? You know, I try and get that money. So exercise, kind of staying healthy, getting that heart rate up, it can be difficult sometimes. Another thing is kind of going with exercise is diet, maintaining like a healthy diet, finding healthy food. It's usually for me is like, again, I'm on a time crunch, so I mean, I'm usually just eating fast food. I try to get Subway. I don't know how healthy Subway is, but I'm usually just, uh, picking up whatever I can at gas stations, and I'm eating it on the road. So yeah, that's another thing. I can't have a refrigerator, electric refrigerator, just because it just doesn't fit in my van. I have way too much stuff. I don't even think I have way too much stuff. It's not practical for me. I just don't see it working out for me particularly, but I know there are some people that do have electric refrigerators that store foods there, but for me, it's just not possible. So yeah, so we've talked about exercise. It can be a bit difficult. Maintaining a healthy diet, it can be a bit difficult. Um, Sometimes sleep, kind of going back to being aggressive on the loads and driving. Sleep is also a big one, right? Because you're not home every day, and depending on the loads, time crunch, if you want to be a bit aggressive, if you want to make that money, uh, you're not getting that much sleep, right? But that's up to the individual, how much rest you want to get. Another thing, kind of going on sleep again, is you have to keep in mind you're living in your van. So, how comfortable are you really going to be sleeping in the van, right? Are you going to have your own bed? Are you going to sleep in the front? Do you have an air mattress? These are the things that you're going to have to take into account. Are you going to be able to do it? Besides driving long hours, right, over state lines. Well, if you can do that, are you also able to sleep in your van, right? And probably be uncomfortable for a couple of nights, right? So you unload, or is that just a deal breaker? No, you can't. You have to have a nice soft bed. That's another thing you have to take into account. For me, is I usually have two pallets. The two pallets kind of sometimes take up all the space in the bed or the back of the van, so I have to sleep in the front. I did have an inflatable mattress that covers the whole front, the passenger and the driver's seat, but that just got extremely tedious of inflating it and deflating it. So now I just kind of just sleep across. I showed you guys my setup in previous videos, but I don't sleep that comfortable. It's not that comfortable, like I said, but it works for me. It works for me. But yeah, if that's a deal breaker, if you guys can't do it, then maybe OTR is not for you. Um, I think that's it. I think that's all that I can think of. Now let's talk about locals. From what I've seen and from my carriers and the contracts that I've signed with. Oh, make sure you read the contracts, guys. Make sure you read the contracts. Is they're usually paying about $1 to $2.25 a mile. Again, I've never bid on locals just because I really don't know how to bid on locals, even though they said local routes are $1 to 2.25 a mile. Um, yeah, so that's the rate that my carrier is offering. Some of the pros that I would say is with local routes is you're always going to be home. You're always going to be home, right? At the end of the day, you're going to have a really nice soft bed to lay on. You're going to have home cooked meals, which is a huge plus, right? Your diet's going to be relatively healthy, right? Well, that's if you want to, right? Because you're home, you're going to be able to exercise every night, if you want, right? Because you're home, you're going to be home every night. Let's see. I would say if you're an extrovert, kind of we touched on at the beginning of the video, is you're going to have much more interactions with your customers, right? Because you're doing local routes, you're usually going to pick up maybe, I would say, 3 or 4 loads, in my opinion. I think that's what I've heard within the local community. I could be wrong, right? You pick up 3 to 4 routes and you call it a day. Kind of sets you good for the day. There's much more interaction with people. Other than that, you're also going home to your family if you are if you do have a family. If you're not, then again, you should go home by yourself. Oh, and that's another big thing is if you have a family, I would say local is really big. Plays a big part in choosing whether if you want to stay again local or OTR. I've seen a lot of videos again, people where they begin OTR and then they're like, oh, this isn't for me. I miss my family. I have to do local, and that's perfectly reasonable, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to stay close to your family with your kids and your wife? So that's another thing to keep in mind. I would say if you're single, that's a little bit different, in my opinion, unless if you're like maybe living with your parents or something like that, a little bit different. But yeah, single, you're not really tethered to your hometown maybe because you don't really have family, so you have a little bit more liberty. If you're married and you have family, you know, that's also, keep in mind that you're going to be away from home for a long time. With local, I think that's about it, right? Like I said, healthy diet. You're always going to go home and be sleeping on a couch. I'm sleeping on a bed. Be comfortable. You're going to always see your family more if you're an extroverted individual, more interaction with people, right? Compared to OTR. Let's see. I think that's about it, guys. I think that's all I can think of. Yeah, I think that's all I can think of. We talked about the pay as well. From my experience, a carrier that I'm with is OTR again, is about 80 cents to 90 cents a mile. Local is about $1 to 2.25 a mile. And yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys, if you think I missed something, please comment down below and I will do my best to answer all of your questions. Or just, need a little bit more clarification on something that I said that left you a bit confused. Again, just comment down below and I will do my best. And thank you for everyone who stayed all the way to the end. Thank you so much. And if you guys enjoyed this video and want future videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.